Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salatu wa salamu ala nabil Mustafa wa ba'd. Respected brothers and sisters, we are back in your company after Maghrib break, and inshallah we will carry on with our discussion with regard to situation in Sudan. Alhamdulillah, you heard so far the background of the conflict, the reasons behind the current situation it is, the war going on over there. You also heard some suggestions on the solution of it. There are still quite few aspects to be discussed here, especially on psychological side and so on. But I'll come to our sisters panel first. Sister Omer, you've been doing a lot of work in this country, to both of yourself, mashallah, to assist these people and so on. So if you can let us know what activities you are engaged in, who you helping, how you helping them and so on.
Okay. Normally I work with a small group of peoples and with people who are already settled in the UK, so they are fine in terms of everything. But this time we are in an emergency, and it was a big group of people. There was lots of needs, and it takes us time to put everything in place. We try to do what we can, but there's still missing in terms of financial, in terms of housing, in terms of visas as well. Some families are still trapped back home, and also in terms of education. So there is still some crucial needs for these families, which Tracy is going to talk about in details. We try to reach different organizations, we call different housing teams, and different individuals from different communities. We try to call DWP for try and settle these people, or try to comfort them a bit and support them with what is really needed at this time. We also had the psychological support for these families, because they lost a lot of memories back home, that some of them lost their families, left their lives, and they are back here in the UK to start a new life from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how many people roughly you are assisting, or how many families?
The evacuees family in total, they were 2,197. Those who are arrived in the UK. In West Midland, we dealt with over 300, and it's in different boroughs. Most of these families are British. They supposed to be entitled to everything. What really hurts me, even small things, little things like opening bank account for these families, we were not able to do it. Mm-hmm. Other evacuees from other countries, they got all the support they need within a minute. Mm-hmm. And the Sudanese British evacuees, they were not able to get no financial support, no housing support, no with education. There's medical students who are in their final years, and the barriers for these students is really hard. They have to start all over from the beginning.
I believe there were like 4,000 people who were evacuated from there through British Embassy.
It's not over 4,000. What we sure about is 2,197. Mm-hmm. And
or maybe it's 4,000 British nationals that are in Sudan.
Yes.
Out of them,
2,197 Sudanese
have been evacuated.
Yeah.
There was, excuse me, just to add to that, Britain did take out over 1,080 or something other nationalities they evacuated, but these people belong to the Netherlands, Ireland, Germany, and so on. So those numbers mostly are combined,
Right.
next to the ones that are actually British nationals.
Okay. So Tracy, what's your involvement in this? And
Okay, so Marafee actually contacted me and asked me for some support to join her supporting these families. Again, these families are displaced families, they're not refugees. I think that needs to be something very clear here. We're talking about British people, they are Sudanese, British. So I went with her to assess what is the situation, what's being dealt with, what's being done. Obviously, when they come from the hostile environment, they didn't just come, they came through the government support. So obviously they will be under a certain council and getting support. However, there's just so much support that the council can provide. So with that, we went to assess the situation, see what are the things that are needed ad hoc, so things that they need immediately. So that's when we got like a list with probably they need hijab, prayer mats, a Quran, clothing, access to food directly because they don't have cash. These people came in the plane with their clothes on and that's it. No luggage, there was no time to pack up.
and these people didn't had any accommodation here from before, obviously.
No.
Nothing.
No, a lot of them were born in the UK and then they left from a very young age to settle in Sudan. Some left for over 20, 30 years. So everything changed, so they don't have anything here. People think evacuees are people that maybe they were on holiday or they're working for 3-4 months or 1 year there and they're coming back. No, we're talking about people that haven't been here for a very long time, but they're British. So that's why when they came here, there's no accommodation, there's no bank account. They are starting from zero.
Yes.
So you can imagine the steps that they need to take, even having access to benefits. There's something called habitual residency test that they need to pass. If you haven't been outside of the UK for longer than 3 or 4 months, you don't have access to benefits.
Yes.
Luckily, the government did change their decision. Since the 15th of May, the displaced families from Sudan have direct access to this, but not all the consuls are aware of this. So we had, up until last week or 2 weeks ago, there was 20 families, British Sudanese, that asked the consul in London support for emergency accommodation, and the next day they were evacuated and they were left on the streets because
That's what I want. I'm trying to understand that these people have been evacuated from Sudan on special flights.
Yeah.
They are coming here, and the government is aware of number of people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
their details and everything
Yes.
in advance.
Yeah.
And when they arrive at airport, what happens next?
When they arrive at the airport, depends which airport they arrive. If they arrived in Birmingham, for example, in Birmingham it was the consul of Solihull that took some under their wing. Some of Birmingham took them under their wing. So they get rehoused immediately into an emergency accommodation, which is a
But
hotel.
these guys don't have option to choose which airport they're coming to.
No.
Yeah.
You don't have the option to choose which airport. You just get out, get safe, and then we will deal with you later.
Yes.
So once they arrived in Birmingham, for example, they were housed. After a week or so, when things start to settle, we have the information and so on, the consul took over. Then the consul is going to ask them, which consul would you like to go to? Which one do you have the most connection with? Some of them can say, oh, I used to live in London, so I would like to go back to London, or I have a friend, or I have a family. So they will send them to those consuls, and then that consul will carry on with the support. Some of them don't have anything because they were just born here and left. So they will say, they can just pick and say, okay, I'll just want to stay here.
If I can say something here, there is actually diversity of, in the people who are now evacuated. For example, some are British citizens, Sudanese citizens, but like, for example, there are British citizens who live in Spain or in other parts of Europe. They are English or any nationality in the UK, and they prefer to live there. They come, for example, for holidays. The same thing happens. Part of the groups that are brought here are British citizens, but they like to stay most of the time there, you see. Now, there is another category, those who live here, but they went for holidays there, and they were caught up among the war. So that's why those who just went for a holiday, they know the system here. They are used to it. But those who live most of the time there come occasionally, and many of them used to live on their own homes and these things. When they come back, they were not used to benefits or to council housing or these things. So these people are in need of help more than the others. You see, that's why we are not actually talking about a uniform group. We are talking about different types of group with different experiences. Right? Am I right?
Yes, that's right.
Definitely.
That's correct.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Shall we go towards our online panel, inshallah? We have Felix. Am I pronouncing name correctly?
Yes, Felix. Yes.
Yeah.
Flex and Dr. Safia Tariq, they are online. We also expecting Councillor Shaheen Ashraf to join us, inshallah. So, Flex, Assalamu alaikum. How are you? Sorry, I think your mic is mute.
Normally should be working. I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's much better, mashallah.
Yeah.
So, Flex, what's your activity and what you would like to add or share information with regard to this tragedy here?
Okay. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for organizing this program today. My name is Felix, as I said. I'm the chair of Entrade, which is a charity based in Soliol. Her sister Tracy said, and Marafee.
We can't hear you that clearly. You need to come a little bit closer to. I think
let me try this.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now properly? Yes. My name is Felix Asay. If I can repeat, I'm the chair of Entrade, which is a charity based in Soliol. As Sister Tracy and Marafee said, we were involved from the beginning of the evacuation. I received a phone call from an officer from the local authority. Birmingham Airport is within Soliol, so I was contacted because we are the only charity working with refugees and asylum seekers in Soliol, so we were asked to help with the evacuation. So around 600 people arrived through Birmingham Airport, and 139 of them were housed in hotel within Soliol. And my charity was tasked with doing welfare checks on arrival, so we went to see them in the hotel to check how they were. We provided emergency support to this family, so we provided clothes, we provided toiletries, we also provided them with SIM cards, with unlimited data and unlimited calls for 6 months to enable them to try contacting people and access services. Most of the issues of that have been raised here are correct. So these are people who have come from a war country, have suffered a lot of trauma, have seen houses destroyed, have lost family members. So when they arrived here, they were very distressed. And our duty was to kind of support them, enable them to settle down, provide the emergency support on arrival in terms of what they needed. As her sister Tracy was saying, most of these people came on the plane just with the clothes that they had. They didn't have time to pack up, so they didn't have anything at all. So our charity contacted the local community. We were able to collect some clothes, we were able to collect some shoes, we were able to deliver that to them, and we were spending all the time in the hotel with them, speaking to them. And what we've seen is really people traumatized. When I first walked in the hotel, I spoke to a gentleman who is a British citizen. His children were born in Sudan, but they're British because dad is British, but his wife is Sudanese. But when they were evacuated, because the children didn't have a British passport, although they are British by law, they were not allowed on the plane. So he was allowed to come on the plane on his own. So the first thing when I met him, he broke down and said, "Can you help me bring my children and my wife here?" Which was very traumatic. And I know we have a psychologist here. We're talking about post-traumatic disorder. This person will need a lot of support to recover from the trauma that he has suffered, the fact that he's left his family back in Sudan and he's here on his own. Everything that the sisters have said is right. These people have got no money. They didn't have any money at all. So our charity was helping providing them with food. And I must say as well, credit to local authorities in the West Midlands. They were able to put some support in place. Solihull in particular, I'm not speaking on their behalf. They were very proactive in trying to buy clothes, in trying to send meals for the people in the hotels. But that emergency support, the very hard work starts now, because these people now need a lot of support, reintegrate. These are British citizens, they're not asylum seekers, subject to the hostile environment. They're not refugees. These are British people who've got the right to live in this country, but most of them have been away from this country for a very long time. So they need a lot of support to start rebuilding their lives, and our charity is helping with that. So one of the issues that we're helping them with now is opening bank accounts. So because these people have been away from the UK for a very long time, they don't have bank account, and because they don't have bank account, it's very difficult for them to claim universal credit. So our charity has been proactively lobbying the bank in order to facilitate the opening of bank accounts so these people can be able to claim benefit. We've been supporting them also to apply for a benefit that they are entitled to. Thanks to the government for waiving the requirement for the habitual resident test since the 15th, so that will be helpful. But we know the amount of money, whatever money that they receive from universal credit won't be enough to meet all their needs. And obviously there is this long-term kind of recovery process in terms of helping them with access to education, activities for children, registration with GP, registration with dentist. So there is a lot of need, as the sister was saying here. And I think we need everybody to come together to support these people. Within our local authority, people have been very great in terms of helping, but we need more support. And that's why I think this is a call to anyone following this program. Anything that they can do to help these people will be welcome. The other thing I wanted to touch on quickly before I hand over to Dr. Safia is around people left back in Sudan. This government, the government in this country responded to the Ukrainian crisis by setting up the Ukraine scheme, under which people are able to sponsor family members and friends, or individually, in fact, to come over here in the UK. And I think there is a need for the UK government to relax immigration rules. I'm speaking here as an immigration advisor myself, to relax immigration rules to enable people to bring family members that are left in Sudan or in other countries. So I was speaking to a dad very recently who's managed to arrive here. His daughters arrived, but his wife and 3 children are in Cairo. Now, under the immigration rule, the children are British, so it's easy for them to come over here. The wife is Sudanese. So under the immigration rule, he needs to meet certain requirements for the wife to be able to come over here. And that may separate the family for a long time. And my view is the government needs to do something to relax immigration rules to enable people like this mother to join her husband here and the children here. So there is a lot of things that need to be done in terms of the support that need to be provided to people here who have arrived here. And I wanted to emphasize the fact that these are British people who have come back home, so support should be available for them and it shouldn't be delayed.
Thank you very much, Flex. Can you mention what's the name of your organization that is helping these people?
My charity is called Entraide, so it's spelled ENTRAIAIDE, and it's based in Solihull.
Right, okay. Okay, thank you very much. I'll move to your next colleague, inshallah, Dr. Safia Tariq.
I want to speak about families who are trapped back home or in other countries. Mm-hmm. There's one case of an 8-year-old boy who managed to come to the UK with his dad, but mom is trapped back home in Sudan. And for an 8-year-old child, it's really difficult. So situation and cases like this, the government really need to look at it. Mm-hmm. Really need to look at it.
Is that because mom is not British?
She's not British. And since the boy has arrived to the UK, and this really broke my heart, he's been unwell. So
I mean, just imagine that you and I, basically, for sake of our children,
Yeah.
we would plan our minutes and hours, forget about days and weeks. Yeah. And we know that if something happens to our child, then we would take days off and spend time with the child and so on.
Yeah.
Weekends we would plan activities with children. So all our diary is geared around our work, but majority of it with the family. At work we are basically 8 hours, 10 hours max, but remaining 12, 14, 15 hours we are spending with family.
Exactly.
But what would be happening to these children who are here without their either father or mother?
And it wasn't a normal case, it was a war. He escaped from a war, he left his mom back home. So he's already traumatized about what is going to happen to my mom. And all this, it's just too much for a little boy to handle.
And I think that's
This
why.
is very
sorry
sad
to
situation. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for everyone.
Allah.
Yeah, and if I can come
It's
in there,
important
if you don't mind.
for the authorities in Sudan to come together and to reflect upon basically what the consequences of this trauma. I'm sure they are aware of it, but I hope, inshallah, that there is some solution to this. Shall we move to Dr. Safia? Right, Dr. Safia, can you hear us? Hello, Dr. Safia. I think your mic is mute. Assalamu alaikum, Dr.
Hello.
Safia.
Wa alaikum assalam. Wa alaikum assalam.
MashaAllah. Dr. Safia, you need to speak a bit louder. If you can explain basically your side of situation, inshallah.
My name is Safia Abdullah. First of all, I'd like to thank you for organizing this program and allowing me this opportunity to speak and tell my story. We were evacuated to the UK on the 28th of April. We arrived through Wadi Sayyidna, and it was one of the routes, the evacuation routes. Other people arrived differently. Some people arrived through Port Sudan. It was one of the very hard experiences to actually make the decision to leave your home and to be uprooted from where you've been raised most of your life, and where you spent your childhood memories, where you've been working, or where you spent most of your life receiving your education, and having to put all of that on hold and to leave with the bare minimum is it's a very huge decision to make. And I'm not talking just in my situation, I'm talking about many situations, as Marafee has and many others have said before me, that each individual situation is different. Some people haven't been here for many years, and some haven't even seen the country before. So to make the decision to actually leave and be evacuated is such a blind. It's a jump into the void. You don't know what's going to happen specifically. So it was a very, very tough experience. Having to travel all the way to reach the evacuation area itself was dangerous. You had to experience checkpoints where you would, everything would be checked, whether it's the clothes that you have, your belt, equipping to the evacuation area. And sometimes you were threatened to death. My brother nearly experienced it. He had a near-death experience where he was threatened with gunpoint to be shot. And so it really is, it was a difficult situation for a lot of people. We were lucky we didn't face many checkpoints on our way, but some people came from very far away and had to go through multiple multiple checkpoints. Other people weren't as lucky. Some had to be got trapped. Yeah. I think it was the last. We were actually lucky. We were fortunate enough to reach one of the final evacuation planes. We were able to make it. Many people couldn't make it, and it was a very, very, very difficult situation. Many people had to stay for over a day or two. Some people had to stay without cover, no shelter at Wadi Sayyidina airport. It was raining. I remember many people telling us horrible stories about having nowhere to sleep. They had to sleep on the floor. They had no food, and it was, as I told, you don't really know what's going to happen. How much money is enough to actually travel from wherever you are to Wadi Sayyidina, and some people had to go to Port Sudan, which is further away. You're not sure, is the money that I have right now with me enough? Am I going to be able to reach the next plane? Would I have to actually go back to wherever I came from? Some people worried that they're going to be stuck at Wadi Sayyidina. Wadi Sayyidina is very far away, even for people living in Khartoum. And it depended on wherever you came from. So it was a leap, blind. It was a blind jump into. It was a leap of faith, basically. Besides the dangers that came with the obviously the evacuation itself, the process to actually reach Wadi Sayyidina, and worrying about the financial aspects of it. There was also a problem with having children with you or elderly to actually reach Wadi Sayyidina was a very tough experience, and I'm assuming that to actually reach Port Sudan was even harder. Some people had to wait, as I said, over 24 to 48 hours. We expected to end up waiting 48 hours to actually be able to get on a plane, and we even worried that we might not be able to reach or actually have the opportunity to be evacuated, because when we actually made the decision to leave, we were afraid it was too late to make the decision, and that once we arrived there, we'd be trapped in Wadi Sayyidina. We were worried because there was a peace agreement. It was a basic.
Dr. Safia, thank you very much. We just have few minutes remaining towards the end of program. I wish we could carry on listening your valuable input. And I'm sure that our viewers are enlightened with your experience and your points, mashallah. Jazakumullah khair. But I have few more important points that we need to discuss before end of program. Literally we have just about 10 minutes remaining. So coming to basically on psychological side, Dr. Tarig Salah, mashallah.
Thank you so much again. You know, it is hundreds, but thousands, millions of sad stories, and this impact, you know, the whole population, people in the diaspora, evacuees, refugees, displaced people. So the trauma is very huge for everyone, and people, they are re-experiencing this trauma, affecting their thoughts, affecting their feelings, affecting their behaviors, which we can see day to day, that people, they're panicking, they're anxious, they're agitated. Even some of them, this is reflected on their behaviors. They become like violent because they are not sleeping well. They're trying to get some of this is sort of like fight, some flights, they try to escape even from their own feelings, because they have the feelings of shame and the guilt that what will happen to my father, my mother, which left there in the country. They are trying to get this feeling of separation. Even people, they are having this feeling of that they are separated from their own bodies. So this is a very different situation. As I mentioned, this the post-traumatic stress disorder, which is now hitting very hard, because this is weeks after the trauma itself. So it is coming that people, they have the nightmares, they have the flashbacks from what happened there. Even they have getting there trying to deny what is happening. This is not me, that is not my family. So they have also having this jumpy and fidgeting like feelings that they can't do their day-to-day life. So this needs like a huge support from the professionals and also from everyone, that people, they need to be like getting comfort, getting the calmness, and even we need to try to get them through their own traumas, because even for Dr. Safiya and the others, when we listen to them, this is part of the support, because they need people to listen to them. This is the major part of the psychological first aid. This is to listen, which is called reactive listening. So we need to assess their needs. We need to do what is the priorities, set priorities. We need to intervene in different psychotherapy, even if they need medication, for example, for anxiety, for depression. Even some of them, they will get severe mental disorders. They will get like delusions. They are separated from the reality. They get hallucination. Some of them, they're getting back. They're hearing voices. They can see people which is not there. The psychological trauma also can be combined with physical trauma. Some people, they are injured in their head, so which affect their cognition, their memory, their judging, processing of information. So this is a huge trauma. So we need to work hardly through different organizations, lay people, social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, and even these all organizations working on the fundraising or trying to get approaching people. For example, those evacuees here and the refugees in different areas, and those who are displaced from the capital. So we need to focus on the real needs at real stage. We need to work on if there are people who needs medication, or already some of them, they are mentally not well. And also, the children, the elderly, and also, those people who are getting re-experiencing the trauma now. And this is the real time to intervene actively through the organization. We in the Psychiatric Sudanese Association, we're working to get through with other diaspora medics and other organizations to get an adapted psychological first aid tools, which can be used by lay people, not the professionals, so they can help their families, the people there in Sudan, crossing the borders and everywhere, even the evacuated people. And we are getting support from the professionals, the Royal Colleges of different specialties here in the UK, the different associations in the Gulf, and also through the community associations working on health and social affairs. So the psychotherapy, the psychosocial support, and also all efforts needs to be like done to get people through their traumas, which is like for every one of us, not only for the Sudanese people there in Sudan or the evacuees.
Thank you much, inshallah. Coming to yourself, what items are needed and what packages people can support, basically?
Items that these families mainly needed are clothing, some food, and other things which are not items, which is education. These kids they are trapped in a hotel in one room, and they are kids that cannot be controlled. They need to be sent to playgroup, they need to be sent to school. They have to get out of this hotel. There's one case in the hotel where they were turning off the water because the kids were all over the place, and there's no way that this family can buy water for the family, so the kids are thirsty. This is one case. Despite all this family has kept their dignities, and they've been really grateful to all the support that they got from everyone. And I and Tracy is so determined to help and support these families until they settle here in the UK. And they can reach us at any time, and the email address that is provided to the control. I really hope if they can put it on the screen. And yeah.
Right, mashallah. Thank you very much. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you and bless you for your activities. I know that there are many other questions that are pending, but Professor Jamil, mashallah, your conclusion remarks.
Yes, I have got just 3 brief points.
Yes.
Yes, this war has brought people together, not only Sudanese, but we have a very good example. Tracy here is actually a member of our community in South Birmingham. She is actually a very active member, helping in everything we do. We have a Muslim association there, and many others are helping. Sudanese communities have come forward and started different groups doing different things. My message here, the first message is that we need to come together and sit and plan together and work together so that we can achieve tangible, objectives. We did actually 2 conferences with donors, one with Arabic speakers donors from the Gulf, and one for Western organizations, and we have delivered the message to them. We are now trying to work and decide what is it that is needed urgently in the Sudan, and we hope that those donors will, respond to these needs. My second point is that this is a humanitarian crisis, and we ask the public here in Britain to help. People are really suffering. Families are split, as my young lady said. And the only thing now, people can just donate a few pounds through the charities that they trust, so that they can deliver not only 20% of what they generate, but I hope in this situation, charities should sacrifice and donate as much as possible, not spend most of the money in administrative things. So there are a lot of issues there. Now, we want also to ask our communities to come together and coordinate between what they do. There are, of course, some specialized organizations like the medical union and maybe the other factors, but if they come together and say, let us work together, and at this difficult time of war in Sudan, we want to coordinate our efforts, and we want to not be repetitive, doing the same thing, a number of organizations. So I think I will try the next few days to organize some sort of a meeting or a conference that people come and say who is doing what, and who can help in this or that, instead of some of us repeating the same thing and there are things that are left out. So my final message is that we are really grateful to this channel, IQRA channel, and we hope that other channels will also embrace our problem here and help us to go through this difficult time. My people in Sudan, please be patient. May Allah reward you for tolerating all these things and all this suffering. And inshallah, inna ba'd al-usri yusra. That is my last word.
MashaAllah. Jazakumullah khair. Brothers and sisters, you heard from, MashaAllah, entire panel here, along with the online panel, Flex and Dr. Safia, MashaAllah. And everyone have given their input on their area of work and or area of their expertise and concerns and so on. Right now you understand what Sudan is going through, and when we say that heart of Africa is burning, we really mean that. This is the campaign we launched, that Sudan crisis, basically where heart of Africa is burning, and we trying our best to assist them. My team members, some of them have taken huge risks, and not only basically I speak for my team or my organization, but many countless organizations that are working